Last week, The Economist put out a full interview, 85 minutes long. Sitting across the table, Elon Musk. The parts everyone quoted were the heated ones. I listened to the whole thing, and what I noticed was something else. In those 85 minutes, they explicitly agreed with each other at least 4 separate times. And the entire time, each of them believed the other was making things up. That gap is what I want to talk about, because it tells you this argument was never actually about facts. First, who was in the room?
The video went up on The Economist's official channel on July 29th, 2026. It runs 85 minutes. The interviewer is Zanny Minton-Beddoes, editor-in-chief of The Economist. The location is the Texas Gigafactory. The occasion, his first long interview since the SpaceX listing.
Conflicts of interest go first, and they go up front. A large stretch of this interview is about how AI should be governed. His proposal is to let a few leading companies review each other. And he runs one of them, XAI, the one that makes Grok. One of the others has a founder he is in open litigation with and a personal feud with. You don't need me to infer that. He says it himself.
Musk's own words, "I'm meters not a fan of Sam Altman."
The other side needs stating too. Across the table is the editor of a publication with a point of view. And in the interview, she says plainly what her paper has written and what it has opposed. Neither of them is a disinterested observer. I'm meters not here to referee who is right. What I want to show you is what they were actually fighting about. All right, into it. Start with the 4 times they agreed. First one. She says, people worry the direction of the world is being shaped by a very small number of extremely powerful people. And you are at the top of that list. Musk's answer, I agree with you. Then he laughs and asks, when was it ever not like that? Second one. She says, I have long thought of you as a classical liberal. But when I read what you post, I sometimes wonder whether you really believe it. Musk recites the definition on the spot. MIL, limited government, individual freedom. And then Musk says, yeah, I agree with that. Third one. Musk boils his own position down to 3 things and asks the editor which one of them is far right.
His 3, safe cities, secure borders, sensible spending. Her answer, she agrees with all 3.
Fourth one, and this time it runs the other way. Musk asks the editor whether it is appropriate that people in Britain have been arrested over social media posts. She says, no, it isn't. We have written editorials against it. 4 times. On concentrated power, on political philosophy, on specific policy, and on free speech. And yet inside that same interview, the editor says Musk is making things up, and Musk says the editor lives in a sealed-off world. So what were they arguing about? After going through all 85 minutes, what I see is one structure played out 4 times in 4 completely different arenas. The structure goes like this. Musk's position, the decision should sit with the people who understand it, the people who can see far out. Outside constraints will mostly make things worse. The editor's question, every single time, then who constrains those people? Watch how the 4 rounds play. Round 1. AI governance. Musk's proposal, the leading companies meet every few weeks. Before a new frontier model ships, peers get a week or 2 to test it and can recommend pausing.
His stated reason, and this is Musk, is that it is very hard for anyone in government to be technical enough to judge whether a model should ship, whereas competitors can keep each other honest.
Translation: the judgment should belong to those who understand, not to those who hold office. Round 2. His own company. Here, the editor brings out a hard number.
The editor says that after the listing, Musk holds roughly 80% of the voting power. And the vote that could remove him is a vote he himself controls. The editor draws the comparison too. Alphabet is controlled by its 2 founders, Meta by Zuckerberg. But yours, she says, is more extreme.
Musk's answer is not evasive, and I think it is the most substantive stretch in the whole interview. Musk says, I need to be able to decide on a 5 to 10 year horizon. The trouble with a public company is that every quarter has to look good, so nobody dares fund the things that only pay off in 10 years. Then Musk gives the example. They will say, "You missed your quarter because you spent too much on Mars." And he says, "Yes." And that was written into the prospectus in black and white. We said we would do exactly this. Did you hear it? Same structure again. Keep the decision with whoever thinks long, and Don Teat let the quarterly report run it. Round 3. The press. Here, Musk's instrument is a number.
Musk says public favorability toward journalists sits somewhere around 15%.
On the surface, that is a data point. What it actually says is, what gives you the standing to decide, on the public's behalf, what gets written? Round 4. The platform. This one is the most direct. The editor says, your positions are seen by 240 million people. Your influence in Europe may be far larger than you yourself realize. Musk's answer, I hope I am having a big impact. And then the editor asks what I think is the sharpest question in the whole interview. Why should you get to shape European politics? You don't even live there. 4 rounds in, you notice the editor has been asking one thing the entire time. Who constrains you? And Musk has been answering one thing the entire time. Only those who understand are fit to judge, and I am the one who understands. That is why they can keep agreeing on principle and still each believe the other is inventing things. Because they were never arguing about conclusions. They were arguing about who has the standing to judge. Now I want to take apart the sharpest cut in the whole interview, because it makes this plain. Musk says to the editor, more people die of heat in Europe than die from guns in America. Why aren't you writing about that? The force of that line is not in the numbers. It is that it goes after the editor's judgment. What exactly were you thinking about when you chose your stories? Musk never says what those 2 numbers actually are. I went and looked them up. I am going to lay them out for you, because this step is the whole point of this episode.
United States gun deaths, 44,447. That figure is for the year 2024. The source is death certificate data from the CDC, compiled by the Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Violence Solutions. That number was counted, 1 death certificate at a time. And it breaks down further. 27,593 of them are suicides. 15,364 are homicides. European heat-related deaths, 62,775. That figure is for the summer of 2024. It was published in Nature Medicine, led by the Barcelona Institute for Global Health. That number was not counted. It was modeled. And its 95% confidence interval runs from 36,765 all the way up to 84,379.
Stop there. Put the 2 of them side by side. 62,000 really is larger than 44,000. As a point estimate, his line holds. But the bottom of that interval is 36,000 and change, which is smaller than the gun number. Which means that inside the interval, the study itself publishes, that statement can flip. And there is more. One of them is modeled, the other is counted off death certificates. Putting those 2 next to each other is itself a judgment call. And of those 44,000 gun deaths, 27,000 are suicides. If what you mean is whether the streets are dangerous, then whether that half counts is another judgment. I am not saying Musk is wrong. As a point estimate, his line stands. What I want you to see is this. Getting that comparison right requires nothing but editorial judgment. Whether to compare a model against a count. Whether to publish the interval. Whether suicides belong in street danger. And that work is exactly what editors do. So here is what is absurd about that cut. Musk used a comparison that only works if someone exercises editorial judgment in order to argue that editorial judgment is worthless. I am not laying this out to defend The Economist. The same questions apply to their story choices, and they have their own preferences too. What I want to hand you is the questioning itself.
When you see a number, don't start with true or false. Start with 3 things. Was it counted? Or was it computed? If it was computed, how wide is the interval? And who computed it?
One more coincidence, and it is a telling one. Another argument in the interview turns on a figure of 14 million about deaths caused by aid being cut off. That figure comes from The Lancet, and it is also a model projecting forward out to 2030. In one single argument, the strongest number each side reached for was computed, not counted. I was going to stop there, but something happened after the interview, and it ties everything together. Before I say it, I need to tell you how far I actually verified it. This episode is about exactly that, so I can be vague about my own work. The original source, I did not get.
What we have is a signed opinion piece in The Guardian on August the 1st, written by Jane Martinson, plus several accounts on X quoting the same line. But the original post itself, we could not pull up. So treat what follows as secondhand. There is also something that does not line up. Two outlets carry a date earlier than the interview's own release date. We did not resolve that.
With that caveat. The reporting says that after the interview aired on his own platform, Musk called the editor-in-chief, who had just spent 85 minutes arguing with him, a traitor to the West. What I want to point out is not whether that goes too far. He has the right to speak, and both of them agreed on that inside the interview. What I want you to notice is that the venue changed, and the rules changed with it. At that table, Musk argued with data, with examples, with intervals, and multiples. Because it was the editor-s venue, and the rule there is, show me. Back on his own platform, Musk does not need data anymore. He only needs to deliver a verdict. And what is that verdict? It is, you have no standing. Look at that. It is the same thing the entire interview was fighting over. Only this time, nobody has to argue. That is round 4, the platform round, playing out for real. Now let me set out a few chairs. Setting them out, not sitting in one. First chair, Musk's position. This side is not without logic. People who understand really are more likely to judge correctly, and regulation by the uninformed really does break things. Second chair, the editor-s position. This side is not without logic either. A judge with no constraint on him, however well he understands, has no mechanism for correction when he is wrong. Third chair, the people affected by these judgments who were never asked. In this interview, that chair is empty. Fourth chair, and I want to give it to one specific person. Someone deciding next year what to study. They need to know who won this argument. What they need to know is that behind every number they will ever see, there was a judgment. Now, some historical bearings. I'll give you 3 different directions. Don, just take the one that feels good. First direction, handing the decision to those who understand has worked, and worked well. Central bank independence was designed on exactly that logic, because election cycles are too short, and monetary policy has to look further out. Most countries still keep that arrangement today. Second direction, it has also gone badly. A lot of 20th century city planning was handed to the experts who understood best. Whole neighborhoods were leveled and rebuilt, and the data supported it. Decades later, many of those places never grew back. Third direction, and this is the one people mention least, constraint fails too. Before 2008, there was regulation sitting on top of the financial system. It was there. It just didn't understand what it was looking at. So let those who understand decide, and there must be outside constraint, are both true, and both have crashed. Anyone who picks just one of them for you is leaving something out. Last, my own red, kept restrained. What I think is worth remembering about this interview is not whose data was harder. It is that it demonstrated something. When two people can repeatedly reach agreement on conclusions and still each conclude the other is inventing things, the disagreement is no longer at the level of facts. It is at the level of who has the standing to judge. And that level cannot be settled by handing over one more number. So here are 3 signals I'll be watching. First, whether that every few weeks industry meeting he proposed has actually happened a year from now. It was his own proposal, so it can be checked against his own standard. Second, the next time someone puts two numbers side by side, whether anyone publishes the interval. That is the simplest marker of whether judgment is being done at all. Third, and this is the hard one, me. When I made this episode, I had the idea that they were fighting over standing first, and then went back to look for the evidence. The 4 agreements are the ones I picked out. They are not all of them. I've put the sources and the intervals in front of you as best I can. You can use those 3 questions on me. That is what I think you should take away from those 85 minutes. Next one, coming up.